Welcome back to the channel, and I need to start this video by giving an apology. Apologies for the length of time it has been since I last uploaded. A good week and a half. I reckon it must be the longest I've gone without uploading, probably since I pretty much started doing this a couple of years ago. So apologies, it has been a manic time. I was doing videos on the Olympics, I've been working a bit on the Olympics, plus some other bits and bobs, and it just got to a point where I didn't have time. So hopefully we are back with more consistent uploading. I will do my best. And today is a good day to start, because if you haven't seen the news, Twickenham is no longer going to be called Twickenham. This is one to rile the cages of all of the rugby traditionalists out there, and I can understand why. Or do you have to look at this as much needed investment in a sport that needs it? I'm going to try and get into it and round it up and somehow get to my thoughts. I'm a little conflicted on this one. But as I say, welcome back. Twickenham is no longer going to be called Twickenham. It is going to be called Allianz Stadium. It's going to take some getting used to. Give me your thoughts in the comments section. Make sure you like the video and make sure you subscribe to the channel as well. But this kind of came out of nowhere. I know previously there's been stories about the RFU looking at potentially selling Twickenham altogether and buying a stake in Wembley Stadium or various other options to them. But the naming rights, to me, kind of came out of left field earlier today. And my gut instinct, I think, will be the same gut instinct as a lot of rugby fans and most England fans, which is this sucks. It's corporate nonsense. It's Twickenham. It's been Twickenham for over 100 years. It is the traditional home and stadium of the England rugby team. But on the flip side, is this just simply a reality of where rugby is at the moment and the world that rugby is living in and the financial landscape that the RFU and its board members and its council members and the people that make these sorts of decisions are having to live in and abide by? Because there's also a rational part of my brain, as much as emotionally I don't like it, it's just a bit naff. Rugby financially is on its knees, and we know that in this country. We can talk about the clubs that have gone bust in the Premiership. We can talk about the club that went bust in the Championship. We can look at the scaling back of resources into the community game in terms of community coaches funded by the RFU and all that sort of thing. Rugby needs money. And we might not like it, but if that comes from selling the naming rights to Twickenham, then is that worth it? Because I presume it's lucrative. The RFU haven't said how much it is, which again makes me a little bit nervous. But presuming it is lucrative, it is going to be in the millions. I was reading an article in the Times which, looking at Tottenham and West Ham's stadium naming rights, it kind of fluctuates for them between 4 and 20 million. So saying it's in that sort of ballpark, millions invested back into the RFU and the game is obviously a really positive thing. And actually, does rugby at this moment in time have the luxury of being able to be picky and choosy and let pride get in the way of these decisions? I don't know. That's just kind of like, if I'm really trying to boil it down and talk about this rationally, then that is an argument that you could be put forward. I think for a lot of the fans as well, it will still be known as Twickenham. I mean, Murrayfield, Scottish Gas Murrayfield, you still just call it Murrayfield. I guess the Principality / the Millennium Stadium has kind of changed a little bit there. So yeah, it will still be known as Twickenham amongst a lot of the fans, but the broadcasters will have to call it the Allianz Stadium, or they'll certainly be asked to. I know I've turned up at Welford Road, and you get the point made to you as part of the media that it's Mattioli Woods, Welford Road, and Cinch Franklin's Gardens, and that sort of thing. And it is all quite naff, but maybe it is just where we are. On the flip side again though, if I come back to my original point and my gut instinct of not really liking it, and I think that will be the ground that a lot of England fans feel, is what price can you put on tradition? Are there some of you that maybe are watching this and you're thinking, well, yeah, the money's great and all that, but it's Twickenham and it's 100 years of history. And do you get rid of 100 years of history purely for the money in the coffers right now or for the next however many years, whatever it's going to be? Because I suppose tradition is such an important part of sport and such an important part of a culture and an identity. So I don't know. Let me know. Allianz obviously have Bayern Munich Stadium. They have naming rights for a stadium in Sydney. I think at various stadiums around the world. So this isn't exactly new for them. And it will come into effect from September. The Red Roses game against New Zealand is going to be the first game where it will be played at the Allianz, not at Twickenham, which is just weird. It's just weird. Do you know, it's a really weird one because, kind of as I've already said in this video, emotionally, and as an England fan, I hate it. Rationally, you can't really argue against it in terms of the money and where the game is. That's where I am. I'm really intrigued to see if how many of you agree with me. Do we have the luxury of being able to turn this down? And interestingly, apparently, again with the article I was just reading, there wasn't much opposition amongst the RFU council members. So how this is received within the game is interesting. It saddens me though if in 10, 15, 20 years time no one ever calls it Twickenham anymore. Or maybe I'm just being a romantic view of things. So as I say, let me know. Twickenham Stadium, Allianz Stadium. Ugh. I'll see you in the next one.